I'm Dr. Kimberly Manning.
And this is Dr. Ashley McMullen. And you're listening to the Human Doctor Podcast, where we explore the human side of medicine, along with teaching, living, learning, and all things in between. Using the power of storytelling, conversation, and connectedness.
Hey, we're two dope academic internal medicine doctors, but we ain't your doctors. So if you perceive anything we say here as medical advice, no, it ain't that. Also, the things we say, they only reflect our brilliant Black woman magic mind and not our employers.
You could have been anywhere, y'all, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you. Let's go. Okay.
Recording is in progress.
That is so exciting.
What's so exciting?
That we're back on the mic after,
a bye week.
A latency period. I've missed you.
I've missed you as well. I really have to say I did appreciate you offering me that wellness break, though, because I was still on the hospital service.
Yeah.
And I was just coming back from New York City. Yeah, I was doing too much. But I will say that crazy schedule was worth it. I was at the Nexus conference, the inaugural Nexus conference.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Nurturing excellence and unifying sisters. So it was a conference put on by the Association of Black Gastroenterologists and Hepatologists, but it wasn't just for gastroenterologists and hepatologists. It was for really featuring and celebrating Black women in medicine. So shout out to Sophie Balzora and all of the amazing people who put that conference on. It was dope.
That did look dope. I had to live vicariously. So I was like, I bet everything about that experience was so lit. Just seeing who was speaking, including yours truly.
Yeah, I will say that, as much as I would like to toot my own horn, my little sis, LaShira Nolan, who is now an intern at Brigham and Women's, I wasn't there for her talk, but I know I've seen her talk before, and people were like, yo, this woman just shut it down. She got a standing ovation. And I was just joking to somebody. I was like, oh, I'm surprised she didn't come out, sea walking, because, she's from Compton. So me and her love a good sea walk. And the person, I guess, wasn't quite familiar with what I was talking about. So when I see LaShira, I was like, Lash, I said, you ain't hit him with the sea walk. She's like, oh, yes, I did, though. I was like, you did? Yes, she did.
Oh, man. Oh, that's incredible.
So let's see. How are you doing today on a scale of 1 to 5? Let's get a wellness check. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm like a good 4.9.
Oh, wow.
I am just so hype, mostly because of all the books that are in print this week and last week.
Okay.
I mean, that was basically my weekend.
Okay.
So what's coming out this month? So Ta-Nehisi Coates' book, The Message.
Oh, I did not know of this. Love some Ta-Nehisi Coates.
So his newest book, it has been several years since we've, had his voice in print. And so it came out on, I think, October 1st.
Okay.
So
Is it a work of fiction? Because because his work of fiction that he did a few years ago.
The Water Dancer.
Yes, that was the bomb.
So this is nonfiction. It's 3 essays that, recounts his experiences in various parts of the country and the world. And it's just, it's so prescient, like the timing of some of the things that he speaks on. And so I called, and my rituals is particularly, for many books, but especially books written by Black authors. I always go to Marcus Bookstore, which is the oldest Black-owned bookstore in the country, I believe.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, right here in Oakland. The bookstore opens at 12 p.m. on Sundays. I called them at 11:59, and I was just like, please tell me you still have copies of this book. And she was just like, I can't put a hold on it, but I can maybe set one aside if you can get here today. I was like, ma'am, I'll be there in 10 minutes. So yes, got that book.
That's a committed reader.
I also finished Playground by Richard Powers.
Okay.
He's the author of The Overstory.
Okay.
If you didn't love trees before, you will inevitably love trees after that book. I encourage folks to read it. I don't think I can actually describe it well because
Yeah.
it's just so rich. He has this gift to really go in depth with these characters and,
Mm.
kind of similar to James McBride, where there's just like kind of a
Mm.
lot of build up, but like the
Yep.
journey is like 99% of the fun. And then the
Mm.
way it ends will kind of blow your mind.
Okay. Okay.
But throughout it is just, just kind of this intricate way of really making you both see and fall in love with the ocean and also recognizing like the urgency of the ways in which we are impacting our planet.
Okay.
And along with that, it raises a lot of questions around artificial intelligence and,
Mm.
even has aspects of gender, race, identity. I mean, this man can do it all. So
Mm. Mm.
shout out to Richard Powers.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I haven't read anything by Richard Powers, but I am due for
You,
something.
you've got plenty to choose from.
Oh, good. I'm
Yes.
excited. So I just want to actually say something about a couple of our listeners.
Okay.
One, this is a very loving shout out. We've shouted him out before, but Gurpreet Dhaliwal, he is an avid listener of our podcast, and this is a busy grown man that's a whole professor out here teaching medical students how to be doctors.
Yep.
But he always finds the time to listen to our podcast, and he thoroughly enjoyed me being thrown under the bus by Jolie. He just thought that was so funny. So yeah, ha 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 at me. But yeah, that is very true. And I didn't fully clarify that when I didn't understand football and Jolie did, I was the varsity cheer captain, but Jolie was also on varsity cheer.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really like Millie Vanilli. I would be like, she would be like whisper in my ear. She'd be like, defense dig in, it's time to win. Sack that quarterback with eye to eye contact. And then I would act like I would call the cheer. This is exactly what was happening. So that's all for you, Gurpreet. The other person is David Malebranche, who is also a person who listens to our podcast, but he's usually like 3 or 4 weeks behind and then calls me saying something related to something that happened 3 or 4 weeks ago. Unlike Gurpreet, who listens on the day it comes out. So, but he called to haze me about how I did not know that Jesse Martin from Rent was actually on Law and Order and not CSI. I don't know the
Ooh.
difference between Law and Order, CSI, NCIS, CSI, Criminal Intent. They all run together to me. And he was just horrified by that. And he was just like very upset with me and had no problem on Saturday spending approximately 15 minutes on a diatribe about why did I not know that it was Jesse Martin and
Mm.
how could I say it was CSI?
Yeah.
I don't know. All of them
Yeah.
involve a crime and somebody trying to figure out who did it.
Look, I'm with you, sis. I can also really appreciate this because, in this case, you laid the traps for yourself.
I did. I
I'm
did.
usually in a situation where you are making references and then I have to pretend like I know, but you immediately recognize that I don't know what you're
You know
talking about.
what? I'm such a middle child that when he started going off on me, I was like, wait a minute. First of all, Ashley had not even really seen Rent. I personally feel like that's worse. He was like, first of all, Ashley is not on this call. You are on this call. Why are you bringing Ashley into this? You a hater. And I was like, you a hater because you called me about my podcast, our podcast, to say that why don't I know who Jesse Martin is? And I did know who Jesse Martin is. I just couldn't remember his last name. He said, you
Mm.
said CSI. You don't know who you're talking about. I need new friends, man.
Well, I would like to announce without further ado that Dr. Manning realized all of maybe 10, 15 minutes ago that this was her week to tell the story. And I want to paint this picture for y'all because as soon as we jumped on the call, Kimberly was talking about how she was so excited that it was my week to tell the story and how she couldn't wait to sit back and, listen and
in a hoodie. I had a hoodie on.
exactly. She came to relax. And there are a few opportunities that I have in my life where I know that I am absolutely right about something and someone else is absolutely wrong. And I get to watch them in real time recognize the error of their ways.
Yes. I was like,
Ma'am, I don't think you know what you're talking about. So I took
Yes.
my own phone out as she watched me, y'all,
Yes.
and scrolled to the podcast to look to see what the last episode was so
Mm-hmm.
I could be like, ah, in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it did
Yeah.
not work.
It was very satisfying. And so I actually want to thank you for affording me that moment because it was really wonderful to see, especially when you said that I didn't know what I was talking about. That really sealed the deal for
You
me.
only edit the whole podcast.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah, but who's keeping track of those that,
Apparently,
labor.
you are, Jolay is, David is. Okay.
Mhm.
It's all good though.
Yeah, but the beauty in this arrangement is that, we all love and savor stories from Dr. Manning. I am very much
Oh,
team Manning.
oh,
I'm actually the captain.
oh, okay.
So on the weeks that it is your week, I am just here to cheer you on, support, listen, and just soak up all of your wisdom
Ah,
along
thank
with
you.
everybody else who listens to this podcast. So
Today's wisdom is on demand.
yeah, so showcasing these improv talents of yours,
Thank you.
I would like to ask you now, what is the what?
The what is cherish.
Cherish. Okay. I already feel warmth in
You do? You feel warmth
my
in your
soul.
soul?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna overthink it. Cherish.
Hmm.
Um, the reason I chose that word is because one of my favorite songs by Sade is Cherish the Day. And that song is kind of like one of these songs that plays on my mental sort of playlist
Hmm.
at certain particular moments of my life. Like, like just remembering to cherish the day that you're in. So this is sort of a series of interconnected stories. And I would say that it starts with something that just happened to me a few days ago. It was Friday, and Harry and I were rushing out the door to go to Zachary's game. We have a whole way that we do it on Fridays. We have on the gear. Harry had got me a new sweatshirt, a new football mom sweatshirt with my son's number on the back, and the front of it says, I'm a football mom. I'm not extra. You just basic. It's a great shirt.
It's
Had
amazing.
that on. I have all my accoutrement, my cowbell, my battery operated bullhorn, my pom poms, all the things, my clear bag, stadium bag. I'm ready.
Hmm.
And we take Zachary's car, which part of our plan is that we take his car, we leave his car at the school. It's a whole plan. We do this every week. And I'm getting in the car. And as I'm in the car, my son Isaiah FaceTimes me. So we're talking to Isaiah on FaceTime. Harry's driving. Isaiah is exuberant. He's at Tuskegee. It's him and his roommate. They don't want anything. They're
Hmm.
just talking. Hey, what you doing? What we doing? We gonna do this weekend? Oh, I don't know. Blah blah blah. Tuskegee plays Morehouse this weekend. I don't know if we're gonna go. And we're just kind of yucking it up and talking. And they are like outside talking to us, and we're on the way to the game. So I was like, okay, well, we going to the game. Talk to you later. Get off. And in that moment, like this overwhelming sensation hits me. And it is something that happens to me periodically in my life, but not every day, sometimes not even every year. But it is this overwhelming sense of discernment that right now in this moment, you are in the good old days. In that moment, I looked over at Harry and I said, you know what, baby? We are in the good old days. Right here, right now, this moment, right now. We're in the good old days. We need to savor this. And he just kind of looked over at me and he just kind of gave a knowing nod. And what I mean by that is that there are these times in your life that you are who you are in that moment. Your kids are who they are in that moment. Circumstances are what they are in that moment. And it will never be that way again. And there will come a time where you will look back to it. And you can even try to do things to duplicate it, a reunion, whatever, but it will never be the same because you will not be who you are then. It will not be that, right? So we have our son at my alma mater at an HBCU, exuberant, having fun, finding himself, right?
Hmm.
We have our son who's a senior in high school who is having a real breakout year as a football player. And we have arranged our schedules to make every game or die trying. And we are there together as a pair every week. And we are louder than any parents out there. And I don't care if they're listening. I know we're the loudest ones. And the whole thing, all of it, I know that there will come a time where I won't be doing this. I am the age my mom was when I moved here. And my mom is now like in her mid to late 70s. So yeah, I'm running up and down the bleachers. I'm high-fiving the cheerleaders. I'm talking to people. I'm, yelling to the O-line, the block for your man. I'm yelling to my son. I'm doing all these things. And I'm like, there's going to come a time where this is not what's going on with me. So it hasn't only been one moment before. It's been a few moments where this has happened to me, but I'm going to just share a couple that come to mind. One will be like when Isaiah was a senior, he would beg me to two-strand twist his hair. And it was something that annoyed me to no end. I know you remember because I would have to, it took time. It was like a whole process that took like 2 hours. But I would be standing in the kitchen with my son, talking to him about his life. And he would have his little work uniform on and he'd be like rushing me because he was going to go meet his friends. But, we weren't doing anything. We weren't watching TV. We were just talking to each other. And I felt it then, this overwhelming sense, like, you know what? You are sitting here with your son, with your hands in his hair, talking to him, doing something so nurturing, and hearing about his life. And he talks to you and he's young and he's excited and he's exuberant. These are the good old days. A few years before that, when Zachary was little and he was first playing Pee Wee football, we were playing for this league called the Tucker Football League. And we were just a whole community of parents who just loved that league. Harry was a coach. All of us were just so entrenched in the park that we would come out there for the 6U game, the 6-year-old game. And we would be out there from the 6th game at 9 in the morning all the way to the evening with 12U. We would be barbecuing, kids would be playing tag. I'd be working concessions. We were just all in. I'm a whole entire doctor in this phase. So in the moment, I'm looking out at the field and I see all the kids playing and all the families and how much fun we're having. And I'm like, these are the good old days. There's going to come a time where all of us not going to be here together. Somebody's going to be somewhere. Somebody's going to move away. And I guess I'm just allowing myself to think about that. And what's got me thinking about it is that people keep asking me all the time, oh, you about to be an empty nester. How are you feeling about being an empty nester? And there is a part of me that is really, really sad about that. More because I know that there are certain good old days that are connected to my children living in my home that will never be here again. Zach playing Pee Wee football and us rushing to go to those games and being out there all day. Isaiah, me giving him a practice interview for him to get his first job, me twisting the kids' hair, me putting them in the tub together as little kids, me coming home with a baby, trying to figure out what the heck am I going to do with a baby? Who trusted me to have a baby? All of these things, like, yeah, that it's like the end of an era. Even when you remember when I sold my minivan.
Yeah.
I was really sad about that because in that minivan, it represented an era of good old days. But the thing about the good old days is that I have been so fortunate to know, to have these moments where I know that this is something I better stop and savor because I ain't going to have this back. I'm not. Now, the exciting piece is that they keep happening, right? So something else is going to happen where I feel this way again. I know I will. But it is kind of like a little bit bittersweet. You look back like, man, dang, that was cool. And I love going to Tuskegee homecoming, but it's not like being at Tuskegee homecoming when I was a student. It will never be like that, but it's different. So I think I'm more sharing this because oftentimes when people are bored, or when they're feeling lonely, or when something just isn't perfect, they can start to dissect out of their lives things that they don't like, when they could very well be in the smack dab middle of the good old days. Residency was the good old days. It was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Aspects of it sucked, but those were the good old days. Med school was the good old days, man. Those were the good old days. And sometimes even things that are sad and painful,
Yeah.
when they're happening, this is a pivot point in my life. I'm gonna never ever forget this, and I'm who I am right now, and I'm never going to be this person again. Me standing on a stage eulogizing Deanna when she died, and I looked out in the audience, and it was this sea of deltas there to support my sister's life. I knew in that moment, I was like, you know what? This is a moment.
Yeah. Mm.
And not necessarily a good moment, but I'm who I am now, and this will never be again. So maybe in a way, every day is the good old days to some degree, but I think some more than others, if you're lucky enough to notice.
God.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
I am cherishing all of this, not only because it's so beautiful to be able to like actually live in that cherished moment with you. I think that's obviously like the beauty of storytelling, is we get to be there and,
Yeah.
feel all the feels alongside you. And it reminds me of this quote from Rumi, the poet that I love, which is, looking forward to is a diversion that takes us out of the presence.
Mm,
Stay in the joy of now.
mm, mm,
And what I love about this quote and like what you're saying is just like it actually requires intention from us
mm.
to stay, even if it's just for a little bit, to stay still and name either in your mind or out loud, to your husband, like while you're driving, like this is the moment, like this is the joy of now. And
Mm-hmm.
I think part of how both society, and I think this is also a function of capitalism, and we can have a whole debate on this, but I think
Mm-hmm.
that there are systems that really not only like encourage, but like really incentivize us to believe that what we need is
Mm,
somewhere off in
mm-hmm.
the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we actually also do this to our young folks, and I,
Mm.
I think about this a lot in medicine, where it's just like, before you've even gotten a chance to celebrate graduation, someone's asking you, like, where are you going for fellowship? Like, what's your next step? You're constantly climbing, 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 and nobody's actually really saying, like, hey, let's be still for a second
Yeah.
and celebrate the fact that, like, all of us are here right now
Mm-hmm.
together. We're always looking forward to something changing, or like getting anxious about what could happen or not
Yep.
happen. And there's no other time and place for us to recognize like the things that you see and cherish.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a beautiful reminder of something that we all can live better by.
And it doesn't even cost a lot of money, right?
No.
It just costs a pause,
Mm-hmm.
just you to pause in a moment and, look out at something and kind of soak it all in, right?
Yeah.
I will even say that, when I think back on the pandemic, so much about the pandemic was terrible. I mean, and obviously, of course, the lives that were lost and people that were disabled from it, but even the way that it disrupted our world, it was hard, but it slowed a lot of people down and
Yeah.
made us look and listen to each other in ways that we hadn't before. And even us like rising up and figuring out, pieces of our mission and ways that we could be used to do meaningful work that really wouldn't have happened had it not been for the pandemic. I think a lot of ways that I connected with people and built trusting relationships with a greater community happened out of the pandemic.
Mm.
And in the moment when I was writing things, then I knew it was important, and I knew that it was a moment. And usually I refer to the good old days as things that relate to my family and my personal life, but there are still these moments where I'm like, this is something I need to stick a pin in. I'm going to look right back to this moment. I
Yeah.
know I am. I'm gonna look back to this moment. So I know there's going to be a place where like I can probably like tear up and think about, us riding to those football games. But some of the most beautiful parts of your life can be repeated by the next generations. It wasn't really until this morning when I was reflecting on this that I remember that when I was a kid and my father was the president of Sportsman's Little League in Inglewood, California, we would go to Sportsman's Little League in the morning and we would be there all day as a family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not any different than what we did with Tucker. And I was like, oh, you know what? I got this honest.
Yeah. Oh,
So I
yeah.
don't know. It's not like just one story, but I do think that if somebody's listening to this and they are not appreciating what's around them, even if it's hard,
Yeah.
it could be a time that you look back on and you wish you'd savored it enough to notice it and appreciate it in full detail.
Yeah.
Because I can remember a lot of details about things, because I think this little gift God's given me to kind of, ooh, this is where I'm at right now,
Right.
and I'm grateful for that.
I love that. And I think, the invitation to see these moments, even if it doesn't like hit you with a wave of like, supreme emotion,
Mm-hmm.
like I was running out by the Berkeley Marina over the weekend, which was my first time over in that running in that area. And there was a small beach and it was hot, God bless all these folks out in California who are dealing with this heat wave. But I saw like there were a couple of folks out there with their dogs, and the dogs were like running back and forth and jumping into the water. And like these dogs were just pure joy. And I like, without even knowing what I just started like laughing out loud and smiling, like watching these dogs, and that was a moment. It was just, this small little slice of lived experience as I was, hustling for these very difficult miles that I was trying to accumulate. I like the kind of invitation for our listeners to kind of mine, like dig and search for these spaces in the day to day, big or small. And I
Mm-hmm.
also appreciate naming the fact that like, sometimes these moments are encapsulated in times and circumstances that are really
Mm-hmm.
difficult.
Yeah.
And so kind of waiting for things to kind of shake out and be perfect. And, that kind of is, again, this kind of concept of looking forward to, and
Yeah.
perhaps setting yourself up for an expectation that might not come to actualization,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still an opportunity there to see things differently and to pause long enough to see some beauty in the ashes, at risk of sounding cliche.
Yeah. No,
But I feel this very deeply.
yeah. No, I mean, it's like you said, stay in the now or, cherish the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that says it all because you just can't have it back.
Yeah.
You cannot have it back.
Right. Right.
And even again, you can go for runs every day. Um, and you can say, these are the runs that I did. But who you were as a new runner is not who you will be as a runner that's been running for a while.
Mm.
Who you were as, somebody who ran their first full marathon, or who you are on a day where you conquer a hill, or who you are when you noticed those dogs is not who you will be 3 months from now, three
Right.
years from now. You might not even want to run, you know? I
Very
mean,
true.
it's true. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
even trying to be funny.
Yeah.
I started running at 43 and ran pretty much several races a year between 43 and about 50, and then kind of started doing some other different things.
Yeah.
And so I look back on like when I was running those Ragnar races and my first half marathon when I crossed the finish line and Harry was there in the freezing cold with the kids, and Zachary asking me, did I win? Um, um, like all of that is a piece of the good old days of me being a new runner and a runner. And that was a while ago. That was, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm not who that person is. And I am some piece of me I will also say is that I am recognizing that I'm getting older. There are objective things like hot flashes and stuff that make me know like I'm getting older. and even how the world interacts with me. You know, there's a place where you cross a line where you go from, you know, being a young woman, being ambiguously youngish, and then a space where you move into auntie phase. You're not there yet. But the world,
Yes.
when you cross into auntie space, people interact with you a different way. And I know that I'm sort of in the last stretch of that before I began to be interacted with by people as an older woman.
Yeah.
I know this is going to happen, regardless of how well I take care of myself. And even that, how the world interacts with me, it shapes the way that I do things. It shapes like me standing on a bleacher, doing a cabbage patch and yelling to the O-line. This is the thing that I can do at this particular phase in my life. And I can do it as somebody's really like super hype grandma. I'm sure I can. But how it is regarded and how it fits into my world, it will be different. I will not be who I am now. You will not be who you are now. And it's up to all of us, I think, to stay in the now and cherish the day.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Full
Period. Say word.
Say word. Yes, girl. Well, sis, it has been real. It has been fun. And you know, it's been real fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm savoring this moment right now as we speak. And I'm still savoring that moment when you thought you were right when you were actually wrong. And I was right.
See, I was about to say something tender and you jacked it up. I was gonna be like, and we're in the good old days right now of us doing this podcast together. But you just had to, you know, choose violence. So for this, you can take it back. But yeah, girl. I really do appreciate you, and I appreciate having this space together. And I appreciate busy people taking the time to listen.
Yes.
It's not lost on us. And I'm just feeling real grateful for a lot of stuff right now.
I echo all of that. Thank you. You know, especially for folks who've been listening for, you know, since the beginning. We've told a lot of stories on this podcast.
We have some planned, some on demand. Yeah, child. Well, we appreciate y'all. And we hope that if you have not registered to vote, that you hurry up because you in the home stretch and that you make a plan to vote. And yeah,
that's it.
Love you, sis.
Love you too.
All right. Holla.
That wraps up this week's episode of the Human Doctor Podcast.
Special thanks to our favorite brother gastroenterologist, Dr. Chuma Obiname, for the beats. Shout out to the Dr. Ashley McMullen for editing and production.
Mad love to our podcast family at The Nocturnist and the Clinical Problem Solvers, our Med Twitter fam.
And especially shout out to all of you, our listeners.
Until next week, remember,
we see you and you are enough. Holla!